Sony is ending physical games. Happy 4th of July, everybody. This is maybe a hot take. Sony decided they're going to stop producing physical discs for their video games starting in January 2028. I grew up playing Sony. I'm what you might call a Sony fanboy, or were, not to say I dislike Sony. I still have a Sony TV. I have Sony cameras. I might even buy the new Sony camera, which I swore off buying cameras a couple years ago, but they finally gave me the model I wanted, so I'm considering. But we live in an age where most things can be accomplished now just on your phone. I record on this thing all the time, and the quality has come a long, long way, especially if you're just trying to do quick uploads. Getting back into the collection of physical media and games specifically, I'm trying to think the last physical game I bought, because I've built my own PC starting way back in 2016 or 17, like the one I'm recording on right now. Actually, I do have an upgraded laptop, so if I have to do more graphic heavy stuff, the laptop's actually now stronger than the tower. So that's another benchmark on how technology has progressed. And I guess on that note, I think that's most likely why Sony feels there's not much of a need anymore to hard print these physical game copies when they can remain digital and keep adding to it year after year after year. I think that is the advantage of sometimes digital might be the best thing for certain elements. I think there's still a space, particularly for retro video games and retro video game collectors. And I think a lot of people still want to play it on the original hardware and not be buying and purchasing the same classic games, or have a subscription to Nintendo month after month just to play games you've already owned, and played, and they've been out for ever. So at this point, I thought it was kind of a neat direction, because I used to work at a electronic retailer store, but it was a cool direction when Nintendo put out that mini Nintendo that was preloaded with all the best classics and stuff. Those were popular, I remember, at least in my area. Like, a lot of people wanted those things, and then I think they did the same with Super Nintendo, but um, that was a better step, I feel like, in the same direction, even though you're still kind of buying the same games you already bought while you're growing up. However, it was convenient and it was all in a package for you. And it's a cool physical collector's type item too. So that part was neat. And but eventually too, it just became too convenient to have all your games on one device, or have access to play them on that device. And I think that's why Steam really just took over the PC market in particular. And now there's some competitors too, like GOG, and they run some good deals. So I don't want to just say all of this is unsponsored. I'm not promoting any particular gaming service, but Steam makes it too darn convenient, and or they just know what they're doing. Has the biggest gaming community for PC players. But I've also noticed, as someone who grew up playing consoles, on the Nintendo, on the PlayStation, on the GameCube, on the PlayStation 3 was I have a PS4 actually, so I mostly just use it as a Blu-ray player now. So that's the good other physical media stuff, and that's what I mostly collect. As you can see behind me, I have a modest amount of my favorite cinema and one anime show that I'm a big fan of. So you would think I would be supportive of, let's keep games physical and keep that production, but I can understand Sony, I guess, cutting costs in some sense by not like the shipping and the production and the material. Like you don't have to buy that stuff anymore. You just make the digital product and you make it digitally available for people to purchase, similarly to how Steam does it. And no one's really crying over the way Steam does things. Most people are very supportive of Steam in their community because Steam takes care of their community. Maybe that's the distrust some fans have for Sony now, because I think people are losing access to like movies that they purchased through the Sony Play Store, and the same thing that happened with the PlayStation 3, which was my favorite console, is they had the ultimate multiplayer experience for the first time, because growing up through gaming, like lots of people love the couch co-ops and going to your friend's house, but all of a sudden now you could play with your friends online, and with PlayStation 3 you could do it for like free. I mean, you're paying the cost of the internet already, but like there's no extra subscription and crap like the stuff Xbox pulled. And that's why I was never a big Xbox fan. There was a huge Xbox versus PlayStation war, culture war in a way, growing up during that time period of gaming. I was always team PlayStation, team Sony. And I remember those were the best online like multiplayer experience days that I had with some of my family members growing up that I lived kind of far away from. But yeah, going back to, again, the physical production of games, since I've transitioned from those consoles into digital games through Steam mostly, and I have Epic Games that I have a few games on, it's too convenient to play. And now you can even like use apps called like Moonlight, and you can stream your PC games to like a portable device if you have a handheld. And as long as like you're connected to the same Wi-Fi, I'm pretty sure. I haven't used that too much because my PC is just conveniently hooked up already to the biggest screen in my house. So I get to play my favorite games on the biggest screen in my house. So it's a good gaming experience for me. But maybe the last physical game I bought was a collector's edition. I got a Steelbook of The Witcher 3. So let me show this off real quick. I bought this for my PlayStation 4, and The Witcher 3 holds a very special place in my heart, honestly. And it's weird to like jump into a series on the third game. I was kind of hesitant at first. I remember about like, do I need to go back and play the first 1 and 2? And good thing that I think the answer is no. Like you kind of learn the lore and the story as you go, and it's probably better if you're like, because I know if you make certain decisions in the second game, I know for sure there's a new story path that opens in the third game. So the choices you make on The Witcher have different results, and that was such a fun because you could just re-experience the game over and over and have way different things happen and develop your character differently and stuff. So The Witcher 3 was so such a good experience. And I remember I bought this at first for the PS4, which is what this is, the Steelbook on the PlayStation 4. And that was the first way I experienced it. Has a map inside. Like like this is still worth it in my opinion, because it comes with all these extra inserts and the artwork's beautiful and stuff. So if you're a big fan of a game, like getting a Steelbook physical release is still a really cool experience for the gamer. That being said, would I say this is the best way to experience The Witcher 3? No. I repurchased The Witcher 3 on Steam, and they ran sales, dudettes, for a long time. It was like $10 for the base game, $10 USD for the base Witcher. And I'm like, for that story and the amount of hours you get for playing a game like that, like it's worth every single penny over. But in addition to all that, they kept releasing DLCs, additional quests and stories and development, and not just small chapters either. Like I played Hearts of Stone and Blood of Wine, and all like those almost felt like independent games of themselves. That's how big and so many extra things to do, and they expanded the map, and you got very good value for what they upgraded in that game, and that's something you can't easily do um, with physical games when they release. Like that's just what they are, or they still have to be attached and like communicate with a server like on Sony to add those additional content, which is still like a digital feature, that you're pairing with a physical game. At that point, if they plan just to keep adding updates and features to games that were released, it's gonna be digital, like that's the way I'm looking at it. So anyone out there that's like hardcore set on games need to remain physical, damn you Sony, why did you do this? Maybe there's something I'm, ignorant of. I'm open to that. I don't know. But the thing that scares me though, ultimately, like I think Sony's one of the biggest Blu-ray manufacturers as well. And if they start to do this with films and movies and releases, like I've been buying a couple 4K discs recently that, come with 4K Blu-ray and a digital copy. So you're getting like all formats, which is how it should be. You're selling the story, just making it easier to watch it in a variety of ways, because not everyone can afford a 4K player yet. Like those things are still kind of stupid, um, for how expensive they are. But you can get a really nice Blu-ray player pretty cheap, or buy a. You can still find a PS4 or something with a hard drive built in, because people still want hard drives. They still want the ability. Like even when laptops started to remove those, so many people were pissed off that you had to buy an extra accessory to plug into a USB port that then you could have your hard drive back. But people miss when it was built in and just gave you the convenience of options. But I'm curious what all you guys think. Drop your opinions in the comments below. Tell me your thoughts on the future of game releases. Should they continue toward the path towards being digital with all the DLC plans and updates that they could do with it? Or should, a different game manufacturer come out and say, hey, we're dead set on producing games that you own permanently? So, catch you in the next one. Stay retro.